And welcome once again, fans of flip clocks, to the Panasonic RC-7469 restoration. So by this time we've taken some things out of the clock that do not belong there, and this time we're going to show you some more cleanup and put in some things in that actually will help this clock run better. So this is the final part of the restoration, and as you can see, the clock's quite a bit cleaner than from the first videos. We've done quite a bit of cleaning. Here's the speaker. To get these speakers clean, you want to use a soft brush and gently brush that out. No solvents on this speaker. Now, we did use a lot of alcohol prep pads to clean the circuit board. It's just spick and span. Just, you can use Q-tips and alcohol, but boy, on this clock mechanism here, I cleaned each individual tile. Took quite a while. I won't show you all that, but as you can see, the clock case is clean, free of dust bunnies. Cleaned that with soap and water, and got that really going. So these switches here, I'm going to show you how to clean those up, because if you remember from the previous video, there was some static when I was adjusting the volume, and that's this is the treble and bass. We're going to clean that, and this is the selector for AM radio and stuff. That's a little bit detailed. I'll show you some stuff there, but we're going to go ahead and go into this in detail. So, well, as an aside here, I'll show you this pocket tool here, this little pocket engineer tool. I love this thing. I got it off of Amazon, I think. It's just a cut-down monkey wrench, but it really does a number on these clocks. It really helps me get to where I need to be. So we'll just go ahead and disassemble this, get it undone here, take it out, and what we're going to do is we're going to get some contact cleaner right down in here inside this potentiometer to clean out the dust, garbage, and gunk. So what I like to use is this stuff here. I used to use a Radio Shack brand, but this CRC stuff really works good. That's the model number got ripped off, but it's plastic safe, electrical lubricant. It's a must have. So let's operate. Okay, we got our field ready. Nurse, contact cleaner. Thank you, nurse. So we're going to spray that. What are you doing after work today? Okay. Well, anyway, you spray that in there and don't hold back. Now I've got the towels and stuff here because you don't want this stuff to get on your tiles or any place else. It is oilish. It has some oil, and it will stain you there. Now, this component here, this is a selector switch again. I did take that apart, open that up, and clean those contacts, but that was probably above and beyond the call, so I wouldn't recommend that necessarily unless you're having problems. Now, as I got into the clock a little more, I kept finding more and more problems, and I was having a problem with the clock cutting in and out. So I took a look at the cord here, and I'm pretty sure there's a break in there, but if you look at how this easily bends like this, you can tell someone had this mashed up against the wall, and so we're going to have to replace that cord. But first we're going to turn our attention here to the motor. I want you to watch that. It's spinning. Initially the owner of the clock told me that the clock wasn't flipping, but it eventually started spinning, but it's not spinning like it should. So we're going to go ahead and get in there and take care of business and get this clock working well. I'm going to show you my secrets. There's a lot of people will tell you you're going to use WD-40 and stuff like that, and they talk about oiling the motor. This motor does not need to be oiled per se. I'll show you some things. I've got a video out. I tore a motor apart to try to explain that a little better, but some things never die, so don't use WD-40 whatever you use. So you just remove this cover here. The clock motor on most of these Panasonics will pull straight towards you, straight out here. This one you'll need to rock back and forth a little if it's never come off. And there it is. Now, to clean the clock, you could try to disassemble this further, get it separated from the mech, but I wouldn't. I would leave it just as is, and you're going to see my ancient Chinese secret on how to clean these. Watch how that spins. You're going to see a big change here in a little bit. So what I do is I get set up here with my little bowl full of alcohol, and it is isopropanol, and I use a 91% that you can get from pretty much anywhere now, and you just stick it down. Now you notice I'm not putting the gearbox in there, and I'm using my other finger, my middle finger, just to swing that around, just to move that motor and flip it really hard. Now I use the 91% because it will dry quicker. There's less water. Now it will dry your hands out because isopropyl alcohol wants to be at 70% natural, and it will pull water out of the air or whatever else it touches. So eventually, if you leave it out, it becomes 70% about. Anyway, so if you watch here, see if you see a difference there. There's no oil in this motor at all, and it's spinning like a top. Now I could do this for probably about 30 minutes, but we'll spare you on that. But what I'm doing though really is flipping out all the extra alcohol, letting it air dry a little bit, so that we can move on to the next step. And just look at that, it's like it just doesn't want to stop. So that's how you clean a clock motor. So y'all know the secret now. Pass it along. There's no sense in holding this back, and let's stop using that WD-40. Now, there is only one point that potentially I think might need some oil, and that's right in the front, right in the very front where the axle or whatever you want to call it, right in the middle there, spins. But so I want to use REM oil. This stuff's been around for a while, and it's great on guns and stuff like that, and it's going to be good for this clock. So I'm going to drip it in that hole, one of the holes, doesn't matter. You'll see it go down the front there, but that just shows me that it kind of, here we go, it'll make it down to that shaft. So you'll see how that flowed down there. So we'll go ahead and wipe out the excess. We know it's right up against where that axle will be, and we'll just spin it just in case there's some contact points. But all around the outside of that wheel, it does not contact anything, and you really don't want a layer of oil there so that it picks up dust and stuff. But this REM oil is really good stuff. This clock motor is going to go for years. So we'll wipe it down, get the excess off, and that's it. So now we've worked on these switches, and I was having continued trouble with the clock, and I said, what am I missing? Now this right here is the AM/FM selector, and I totally forgot about it because on the other clocks, other later model Panasonics, are on the top. This one down here I forgot. The radio kept cutting out, and a lot of people think their clock's busted, but really, again, you get your magical contact cleaner, and you're going to spray in these 2 points right in here, and it's going to flush out any garbage, oils, gunk, dust, and you just move that back and forth. That's the thing. You just move it back and forth rapidly. I've already done this, but now we're going to turn our attention back to the cord, and I had to make an executive decision here. Do I try to solder in one exactly the way it was, or do I splice in? Now, this is the board it comes in, and that's hot. You know, like on some clocks, you don't have the main electric right out in the open. You could touch that if you were working on your clock if it was plugged in, and you're going to get zapped. But anyway, I made the decision that I want to splice in because sometimes that solder does not want to melt easily on these older clocks. So we're going to go ahead and solder it in. That is going to keep the heat away from that board. There's electrical components there that I do not want to damage. So we're stripped it down here. You're going to twist up your wires. Now, if you're not familiar with how to do this kind of stuff, I'm not going to make this a how-to video, but you'll see a little bit here. Now, I've already soldered the one on the right. You might have seen some of the smoke there from the resin there. Anyway, here we got, there's plenty of YouTube videos on how to solder, but you don't melt the solder and melt it onto the copper. You kind of get the copper warmed up and get it heated up pretty good, and you let that copper pull that solder in. It's almost melting on the copper instead of on the soldering iron, and that's how I learned from the wonderful YouTube how to do that correctly, and it does good for me. Now these caps here, they're more to keep that from touching anything. I don't want to use tape. It's not holding it together because that solder is going to keep everything in place, and it's going to stop that from breaking loose. Plus I'm going to put a knot in it here, which is where it will hold steady into the cabinet. So that is correct to the way the clock was made. So that's the correct knot. You just regular one loop knot. And the connectors also, the blue connectors, I want them out in the open so anybody who ever works in this clock in the future will see them readily and know where that's been spliced in. So we're going to reassemble now, and look how clean that clock is. Somebody did a good job. But anyway, we carefully move things in, And you see my speaker, there's been no damage to it, but that's one thing that can happen with people who start with restorations is they don't watch that speaker and they'll get a hole punched in. It's real easy to do. So anyway, these things are so well engineered, you just got to take your time and fit things in. They no push and shoving. If you just work it in nice and easy, things drop into place. Now I'm not going to show you me putting the screws in, but I'll tell you the video I took earlier did help me remember which screws go where, and I would recommend that any restoration you do, you take a lot of pictures. You may think you don't need them, but they really come in handy. So you just kind of work things in. We'll take this knot, and I'm going to keep those connectors up, like I said, so anybody in the future will see that easily. There's plenty of room in this clock for that. It's not going to get in the way of anything. So we just get our knot in here. That's what holds the cord in, so that if anybody yanks on it, it doesn't pull on our clock. And as you can see, our fits right in there. Everything's lined up nicely. The speaker will go in the top part of the cabinet. So that's pretty much it. So it's time to test once I get this thing together. All right. Okay, there's some M&M there, and so you can see it's pulling in stations just fine all along the FM dial. Working great, clear as a bell, getting good stations throughout here. And again, as you know from watching these videos, there was a lot of components. That AM selector there was a big one, and the cord, and so AM's working great. And we'll enter into a little country to do a furthermore test here. So that's the sleep selector. We'll test the alarm. So we'll just spin her around until we. Okay, that's your buzzer, and then we'll check it to the auto, which is goes to the wake up to it, and that's it. So that's it. That's the 7469 restoration complete. Nice clock, nice lines. It's one of my favorite Panasonic clocks, and this clock's really come a long way. The clock's going to last for years now. So, well, thanks for watching. It's time to hop on out of here and come visit us at FlipClockFans.com.